Okay, this is the Awan Brothers, day 201, and I'm going to send this out again to Wayne Madsen. He really hammered me yesterday on Twitter, so I want to introduce myself properly to Wayne. And he thought I was anti-Muslim and all the things that people on my channel hate me to go over. But I think it's time to, here, starting the next 200 days, really explain what I'm about and my methodology and so forth. And I think it'll help Wayne as well as everyone else who's viewing the series. First of all, this Andrew McCabe has been a part of my series since I think about day 50, and he's kind of been my Javert in my life for the last 7 years in my defense of Muslims. So I think that Wayne will be surprised that that's the case. And it's not about Muslims, as I've said before. These are Pakistanis, and this is a Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood guy. And I continually focus and keep refining the focus. So I don't just say Pakistan. I don't just say Pakistani ISI. I say the Jat tribe in Pakistan, the Free Kashmir, part of that, the Saeed Fai, part of that, the, Jamal al-Fuqra, so I get very, very specific about where the money is coming from to fund activities. And I get very specific about what I call rat lines, which is exactly what happens. Now, I'll just go to what Wayne said, and then we can go from there. But here's Wayne Madsen yesterday saying, I see this Republican hack George Webb is on another Twitter fest with his AAA triptych presentation about Muslims, Texas highways, meat packing houses, Houston, etc. I think Wayne's from Texas. By the way, there's few people I have more respect for than Wayne Madsen. I believe he was naval intelligence. He's just a fantastic reporter. He's obviously a diversion who wants to take away attention from the investigation of Trump. These guys are as dumb as they are obvious. So I love that. And when one of your heroes just really nails you. So he probably doesn't remember the Portland Christmas tree bomber case, but this was a case where Andrew McCabe, who was a low-level counterintelligence guy, not low-level, but he was the head of the counterintelligence division of the FBI, which is completely walled off from the field. And they were doing fake crime everywhere you turn, fake terrorism especially. So George Webb, was the guy who stood up for Muhammad and led the social media campaign to defend him, saying he was set up. 3 different informants were used. He was illegally taped. This is the 12th 333 was first tested here. He lost that constitutional challenge. He is serving 30 years now. And they had 2 males that radicalized him and then 1 female as well that lived with him at the dorm in Oregon State. Tremendous misuse of federal resources, all because Portland was the last city in the United States opposing this kind of police terror force, basically, JTTF. This is a way of intimidating state and local police departments. And guess who ran that program? Andrew McCabe. So I think Wayne might not know that about me. So the second criticism here is the triptych, the AAA triptych about me going to all these different houses in Washington, D.C. and knocking on all those doors. The criticism I got from Cy Hirsch was you don't knock on enough doors. You don't have enough original sources. And Wayne has a lot of sources, I know, inside the intelligence community. Well, those doors from the Awan brothers here, where he owned the Awan brothers here working for the top places in Congress, were a lot closer to Wayne than they were to me. So I had to drive there. So that's why you get the triptych presentation. I'll get to the Texas highways thing. I've never had Texas in my series. And the meat packing houses, I think, is kind of a diversion. I just don't think he knows who I am. And I gave Bernie money 5 times. I'm a Bernie-crat. I'm not a Trump guy. And I like Obama. So I think those are the things that, when I think Wayne only had 5 minutes to decide who I was, and he probably looked at my first 2 slides and then had to make a Twitter reaction, which is fine because it's causing engagement now between Wayne and I. But as far as my approach, which is very specific and fact-based, source documents versus Andrew McCabe's approach, Andrew McCabe goes out and hires a guy. This hasn't been completely proven yet, but Grassley's going to get to the bottom of it. This Steele guy, this supposedly British agent, who's I think just kind of well, let's just say he's a CIA operative, and he has this Trump dossier. Well, if you remember the Trump dossier, it's the Russian PP thing. You know, this was reported by BuzzFeed. This was then picked up 6 minutes later by CNN. And I remember Jake Tapper and Wolf Blitzer spending hours and hours and hours on the validity of this P tape, and then they didn't recant it till I don't believe about 24 hours later. And I think Jeff Zucker even came out with an apology. I'm not sure about that, but I know that CNN, it was kind of a planned release where BuzzFeed put it out, and then CNN jumped all over it. As far as the investigation, take away the investigation of Trump, I'm just looking at the facts and saying you're building a case, or Andrew McCabe is building a case around paying these kind of old CIA guys to come up with these dossiers, and part of it was this PP thing. And the other part of it was saying that Michael Cohen, Trump's guy, was in Prague paying off Guccifer, these Russian hackers or these Romanian hackers, and they pulled his passport. He'd never been to Prague, or he was in the United States during that time. So immediately, I don't think anyone. I think this is totally discredited now. I didn't see an apology from CNN. I didn't see an apology from BuzzFeed. But this was the fundamental key linchpin of the Trump investigation 2 months ago. This wasn't, I'm not quoting something from last summer during the campaign. This is February 10th, where U.S. Intel confirms. We had the 5 Intel chiefs in front of Congress yesterday, in front of the Senate Intel Committee, all saying, yes, I do believe that Russia was a part of this. This is after Trump has taken office, okay? They're still backing the whole PP scenario, PP thing. This Trump dossier is the only piece of evidence that's been released. Now, we know that McCabe has ordered a lot of wiretaps and so forth. That's come out. And he's worked through foreign intelligence agencies to avoid the liaison loophole. We know that. But as far as documentation or proof, the PP tape is the only thing we have in paper right now. Now I'll just compare and contrast to what I've done. Again, I go to source documents. Here's Hillary sending an email to Huma saying maybe one of Anthony's trusted staff could deliver a secure phone. That means Anthony Weiner. That means Anthony Weiner has a staff, a trusted staff, and it means he's delivering secure phones. I mean, that's exactly what that says. That's from the hand of Hillary Clinton. I didn't write this email. Hillary Clinton wrote that email. She acknowledges that Anthony Weiner has a trusted staff that delivers secure phones. I mean, that is just black and white English right there, unless she denies that she wrote this letter on. So the only thing I put 2 and 2 together, and I haven't made this connection, is that it is the Awan brothers. Now, I do know the Awan brothers have worked in Washington, D.C. in Congress through Debbie Wasserman Schultz since 2004. Now, Anthony Weiner was also in Congress during that time, from 1999 to 2001. So I'm just trying to make the link, and I realize it's not a complete link between Anthony Weiner and trusted staff, and that's why I put the question mark there. I'm not trying to be anti-Muslim or anything. I'm just trying to say these Awan brothers, and that's what I was tweeting about yesterday, look like they might be Anthony Weiner's trusted staff, Occam's razor, against anything else that's out there, any other evidence. I look at Huma Abedin's response. Just FedEx the secure phone from D.C. So send the secure phone from D.C. Where are the Awan brothers? They're in Washington, D.C. Anthony's leaving the office to bring me to the airport now. Hopefully I can pick it up just in time. Meaning, she's in New York, Anthony's in New York. They're sending a phone from Washington, D.C. to New York. Okay? Now, maybe that's for Hillary. Maybe that's for another person in the State Department. Maybe that's for White House staff. I haven't determined that yet. But here it is in their own hand that Anthony Weiner in New York has a trusted staff in D.C. sending out secure phones. Now, is this campaign staff? I don't think so. I think it's IT staff because it's secure phones. What kind of phones were determined to be secure phones? Well, it's right here. That just came out in the recent Judicial Watch finding. The grand jury obtained subpoenas related to the BlackBerry email accounts. This is Judicial Watch a few days ago. Here's the State Department sticker. Okay? So these secure phones were BlackBerry phones. That's all I'm saying is these BlackBerry phones came from Washington, D.C. to New York, okay, or wherever Huma was that she was picking up Anthony Weiner. Now, this could be a different city. But Anthony Weiner had a staff in Washington, D.C. Wayne mentioned I was AAA triptych, type reporter. The reason I was is I had to go to all these homes that the Awan brothers owned, and I knocked on all of them. And about the last one I knocked on was number 12. This Marine came to the door, and this is his picture, Andre Taggart, okay? I'm not hiding anything in the investigation. He is the one who told me. He's the one who stood on that step and told me there was a pile of BlackBerries and a pile of laptops with government markings. He's the one who told me he called the FBI. He's the one who said NCIS came over. He's the one who said the case was deferred to the Capitol Police. Now, he said one of the Awan brothers, Imran Awan, who he identified, misrepresented his name and said it was Alex. And he rented the house through his wife named Hina Alvi, who also worked for Congress. There's a direct linkage between these phones and Congress. Both Hina Alvi and Imran Awan worked for Congress, and these had government markings on them. Again, this doesn't prove that this was Hillary's laptop or Hillary's BlackBerry or Huma's BlackBerry or Victoria Nuland's BlackBerry or Joe Biden or Obama's. It doesn't prove any of that. It just proves that the person that rented him this house said that there was a pile of BlackBerries with government markings. He called the FBI and they took them away. So that's where the investigation is. I do have information here that said Clinton requested to bring her BlackBerries into the SCIF. So she won that battle. So she was taking notes or sending emails during top secret information. I also have other articles that I can't present here that said she would frequently go out to the 7th floor, and that would allow these BlackBerries to sync. And these BlackBerries were configured for desktop sync. So that's all I'm saying. It's a possible modus operandi for basically copying everything someone says in an email. Anthony Weiner also was a BlackBerry crackberry, he called himself. He made sure all of his staff used BlackBerry, and they made sure he responded quickly to him with the BlackBerry. Here's Joe Biden saying he's a crackberry. Here's Victoria Nuland saying she's a crackberry. Here's President Obama with the glamour shot with the BlackBerry, kind of almost like a holster troubleshooting photo. And I go back to Jim Balsillie, who was in trouble with $250 million in stock fraud, $600 million case for stealing IP, very close friend of George Soros through the Brookings Foundation. So I'm just connecting the dots here. That's all, Wayne. The Awan brothers, this is Daily Caller coming out and saying they were probed for theft. So again, there's BlackBerries in his home, in Imran Awan's home. There's stolen government laptops with government markings. And here, the New York Post is saying there is a theft, okay? Here, 2 other House Democrats are fired. This is USA Today. There's another article in the Daily